There was a shrimp tail stuck to the side of my shoe. That's how this all starts. I know it sounds stupid, but I remember it so clearly because it was the only thing anchoring me to reality while my wife laughed at another man's joke 20 feet away, with her hand on his chest, and my name nowhere in the room. The shrimp tail stuck to the suede. Real suede, by the way, not knockoff, and I couldn't stop staring at it. I kept thinking, how long has that been there? And right behind that thought came the next one. How long have I been this invisible? The rooftop party was loud, fake loud. The kind where no one's really listening, just waiting for their turn to be impressive. I was holding an empty glass I didn't remember drinking from. The music had switched to something with bass so thick it made my sternum vibrate. And all I could do was watch her. She didn't see me at first. She was too busy being her. That version of her that only comes out around strangers in expensive clothes. Glossy, unreachable, wildly magnetic. And then she saw me. She didn't wave, didn't smile. Just gave me this look like I'd wandered somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. Like I was a +1 who'd missed the memo. Then she walked over. But not to kiss me. Not to introduce me. No. She leaned in, barely loud enough for me to hear. And she said, "Can you step aside? Or leave, maybe? Please." That's it. Like I was blocking the view. Like I was the coat rack someone forgot to move before guests arrived. I didn't say a word. Not because I was noble. I just didn't have anything left to say. I handed her my glass like it mattered, turned around, and left. I don't even know if she watched me go. I walked 4 blocks before realizing I didn't have my keys. 5 more before I understood she'd probably changed the locks anyway. I ended up on a bench near a 24-hour donut shop with pigeons more affectionate than the woman I married. My phone buzzed. Not her. Just a news alert about rain coming Tuesday. So here I am now, 3 days later, writing this from a motel that smells like old citrus peels and reheated cologne, asking the internet a question I never thought I'd have to ask. What do you do when your wife treats you like an obstacle? Because I moved. I stepped aside. But what she doesn't know is what I saw before she asked me to, and what I'm about to do with that. There was this wet piece of shrimp stuck to my shoe, and somehow, that's the moment I knew my marriage was over. Not the arguments, not the cold shoulders, not even the weird new passwords on her phone. Nope, it was the shrimp. The pathetic, half-crushed little tail clinging to the side of my dress shoe at a party I didn't want to be at, while the woman I married leaned into a man who wasn't me, whispered something, then laughed like he'd invented the sun. I stood by the wall, like furniture someone forgot to move. You know that feeling? Like you've become part of the scenery, useful for leaning, but otherwise invisible? That was me. I could hear people talking around me, but none of it landed. The music thumped in my chest like it was trying to restart a heart that had already given up. I watched her, Myra, from across the room. Red dress, red nails, red lips. Everything about her screamed danger, and not the kind you want to save. The kind you're too tired to run from. She didn't notice me at first. Or maybe she did and didn't care. I don't know which would be worse. But eventually, she turned, eyes scanning the crowd, and when they landed on me, something shifted. She didn't smile, didn't wave, just raised one perfectly arched eyebrow, like she was surprised I was still there. And then she walked over. "Ellis," she said, not like a wife greeting her husband, but like a hotel manager addressing a guest who'd overstayed checkout. "Could you? I don't know. Step aside. Or maybe just leave. I'm trying to have a conversation." I blinked. I waited for a punchline, or a hint of regret, or a smirk to soften the blow. None came. So I left. Quietly. No scene. No drama. I even left my glass in her hand, like some twisted Cinderella exit. Except instead of a slipper, I abandoned my dignity. I walked for over an hour. Past lit windows and food trucks, and people who still looked at each other like they meant something. My phone buzzed once. I didn't check it. I was afraid it might be her. Or worse, not her. When I got back to the apartment, her coat was gone. Her favorite boots, too. The kind she only wore when she wanted to be seen. A drawer in the bathroom was open, half the contents missing. There was a scent in the air that didn't belong to her. Something musky. Male. I didn't ask questions. I didn't scream. I didn't even cry. I just stood there in my wrinkled blazer and shrimp-stained shoes and tried to understand how we'd gotten here. And then I saw it. On the kitchen counter, next to the half-dead orchid I kept forgetting to water, was a small black envelope with my name on it in gold ink. Just Ellis. No heart. No message. Just my name. I haven't opened it yet. I'm not sure if I want to. Because whatever's in that envelope isn't just going to change my night. It's going to rewrite everything I thought I knew about my marriage. About her. About myself. And maybe it'll confirm the thing I've been too afraid to say out loud. That she didn't fall out of love with me. She pushed. And I let her. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there in the kitchen with the lights off, watching the black envelope like it was a live thing. I kept thinking it would vanish if I blinked, dissolve into ash, or float off the table like it never existed. But it didn't. It stayed. Stubborn. Elegant. Threatening. At some point, around 4:15 a.m., I picked it up. The envelope felt heavier than it should have. Not thick, just weighted. Like whatever was inside wasn't paper. My hands shook more than I expected as I peeled it open. No note. No explanation. Just a single silver key with a red plastic tag on it. Blank. No label. No address. No, I'm sorry. No, you deserve better. Just a key in silence. Myra had left me a mystery, not a message. And I hated that I still wanted to solve it. By morning, I convinced myself it was nothing. Some stupid bluff or distraction. A symbolic gesture meant to confuse me. But around noon, my curiosity curdled into something worse. Hope. A disgusting little seed of it. I called in sick to work, though I wasn't sure why. It's not like HVAC needed me emotionally stable to clean ductwork. I grabbed a hoodie, shoved the key in my pocket, and started checking every lock I could think of. First, I tried her storage unit downtown. Nothing. Then her old college locker at the gym she used to frequent. Dead end. I even tried our neighbor's apartment mailboxes just to see if something clicked. I was becoming that guy. The unhinged ex. But around 6:40 p.m., just as the streetlights flickered on and the wind picked up that early winter bite, something told me to check the business park on Linder Road. Don't ask me why. Myra used to take calls there in the parking lot sometimes when she needed air. I thought it was weird back then. I think it's worse now. There's a rundown office complex near the back of the park. No sign, no tenants listed, just old blinds and cracked windows. I almost didn't even try. But when I slid the key into the third door on the left, it turned. Smooth. Confident. And that's when I got scared. The office was dark, dusty. A single fluorescent bulb flickered overhead. Inside was one desk, one chair, and a box in the center of the room. Shoebox-sized. No locks. No markings. I stood there in the doorway like an idiot for a full 5 minutes. Something in my gut screamed to turn around, go home, forget all of it. But I didn't. I stepped inside. The door shut behind me on its own. When I opened the box, I found two things. A crumpled receipt from a jewelry store. And a phone, powered off, scuffed at the edges, not mine. The receipt was for a necklace. Not for me. Not one I'd ever seen on her. The date was 3 weeks ago. The name on the order form? For C. I don't know any C. She certainly never mentioned one. My hands were sweating now. I powered on the phone. No password. The screen lit up to reveal exactly one photo in the gallery. No contacts, no texts, just the photo. It was her, Myra, in the red dress, sitting on someone's lap, smiling at the camera like she didn't have a husband, like she never even knew my name. The timestamp? The night of the party. That photo had been taken while I was still there. I dropped the phone like it burned. My knees buckled. I leaned against the desk, ball rising in my throat. She wasn't just flirting. She wasn't just distant. She had erased me already. And then, the phone buzzed. One new message. Just 4 words. Did he find it? No sender name. No reply button. I looked at the office door and realized I never heard it lock. I don't even remember deciding to take the phone. I just remember my fingers wrapping around it and shoving it into the kangaroo pocket of my hoodie like I was stealing something. Maybe I was. Maybe I wasn't supposed to know any of this. Maybe I was supposed to find the envelope, open it, stare at the key, then throw it in a drawer next to the IKEA screws we never used. But that's not what I did. I took the phone, and I ran. The hallway outside the office felt darker than it did on the way in. The lights were dimmer now, or maybe it was just me. My ears were ringing. My breath came short, shallow. I passed the other offices quickly, most of them empty. But one door near the exit had a sliver of light leaking out beneath it. And I swear to you, I heard my name. I didn't stay to listen again. I shoved the door open to the lot, didn't look back, and practically sprinted to my car. My hands were trembling so badly, I almost dropped the keys twice. When I finally got the ignition going, I pulled out too fast and clipped the edge of the curb. The sound echoed through the lot like a gunshot. But no one followed. At least not then. I parked 3 blocks away at a gas station just to calm down. Sat there for 20 minutes staring at the steering wheel. Eventually, I forced myself to look at the phone again. No lock screen. Just the same photo. I opened the gallery. There were now 2 images. The second one was newer. Taken maybe minutes ago. It was a blurry image of my back, me holding the phone, inside the office. The caption underneath said, "He took it." I dropped the phone again. This wasn't just Myra being unfaithful. This wasn't just an affair or some midlife crisis with spa retreats and temporary crushes. No, this was organized. This was deliberate. There were people involved, people watching me, people sending photos, people tracking my movements. And Myra wasn't just cheating. She was orchestrating something. I drove straight to my brother's house. Or, more accurately, the garage behind it that he turned into a man cave 2 years ago after his 3rd divorce. He wasn't home. That was fine. I wasn't there for a heart-to-heart. I needed time, walls, and distance. I powered off the mystery phone and slipped it into a toolbox under a pile of wrenches. Then I opened my own phone, 15 missed calls from Myra. Now she wanted to talk? No voicemails. No texts. Just a long list of unanswered calls like breadcrumbs back to her. I couldn't bring myself to call her. Not yet. Not after that photo. Not after that text. So instead, I called her sister, Mallory. She answered on the second ring, confused, tired, and definitely mid-dinner. "Ellis," she said, "why are you calling me? Are you okay?" I asked her one question. "Who's C?" There was a long pause on the other end. A shifting sound. Dishes clinking. I don't think I'm the right person to. "Mallory," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "Please, just tell me." I found a receipt. A necklace. It said for C. She whispered something under her breath. "Clive," she finally said. "His name is Clive. But I swear, Ellis, I thought she broke it off with him months ago. She promised." I hung up. Not because I was angry at Mallory. Not because I didn't want to hear more. I hung up because out the corner of the garage window, across the street, beneath a busted streetlight, there was a car I didn't recognize. Running. Engine low. Headlights off. And a silhouette in the driver's seat, facing my direction. They weren't here for my brother. And they weren't moving. I sat there in the dark garage with my mouth dry and my eyes locked on the street. The car didn't move. Not an inch. The longer it stayed, the more I convinced myself it wasn't just some neighbor parked badly or some teenager smoking something. No, this was intentional. The way it was positioned, angled, facing the garage, it wasn't a coincidence. It was surveillance. I killed the light and crouched by the side window. The person behind the wheel wasn't looking at a phone. They weren't turning their head. Just waiting. Watching. I waited too. 10 minutes. Then 15. Then I made a decision I now regret. I grabbed the hoodie again, slipped the mystery phone into my back pocket, and went out the back door, circling around the block. I wanted to get a better look, maybe even the license plate. My heart was hammering, but something in me, call it adrenaline, call it humiliation, call it fury, pushed me forward. I ducked behind the bushes across the street and got within 20 feet. The engine was still running low and steady. The windows were tinted too dark to see clearly, but I caught the faint glow of something on the dashboard. A second phone screen. Lit up. Flashing. They were waiting for an update. I stepped closer, pulled out my own phone, and snapped a blurry photo of the plate. Indiana tags. Rental car. And then the car door cracked open. Just 2 inches, but enough to stop my heart. I froze. That's when a voice behind me whispered, "What are you doing, Ellis?" I swear my spine turned to stone. I spun around, stumbled backward into the curb. It was her. Myra. Wearing the same red coat she'd worn the night of the party. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with something between exhaustion and panic. Not guilt. Not anger. But fear. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice ragged. She stepped toward me slowly, like I was a wounded animal. "I've been trying to call you," she said. "You shouldn't have gone to the office." I blinked. So it was a setup? Her mouth tightened. It was a failsafe. You weren't supposed to find the photo, or the phone, or anything else. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just stared. She looked over her shoulder at the rental car. "You need to give it back," she said quietly. "Please. It's not safe." I laughed, bitter and stunned. "Safe? You left me standing at a party like a stray dog, and now you're talking about safety?" Who even is Clive? What is this? Some corporate scam? A blackmail scheme? Are you part of something? Myra looked at me like I'd just stepped on a landmine. You don't get it, she said. You think this is about Clive? About cheating? This isn't about love, Ellis. It's about leverage. She took another step closer. You're not the target. You never were. But now that you've seen that phone, now you're involved. I took a step back, heart rattling. Then tell me the truth, Myra. Just once. She opened her mouth, hesitated. And then the rental car revved suddenly and pulled off, tires screeching as it disappeared into the night. She didn't flinch. She just looked at me, eyes empty. You need to run, she said. Because now they're going to clean up. Clean up what? She didn't answer. She turned and walked the opposite direction, down the sidewalk, never looking back. And I was left standing under a flickering street lamp, gripping a phone I didn't understand, holding a name I'd never heard, and realizing for the first time, I might not survive this. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't. The garage didn't feel safe anymore, and neither did my name. I slept in my car. If you can call sitting upright in a fast food parking lot for 3 hours with your eyes twitching and your thoughts chewing through your brain sleep. The phone buzzed again just before sunrise. It wasn't from Myra. It wasn't even from a number. It was a silent notification from a banking app, not one I'd installed, but apparently one already logged in on the mystery phone. I tapped it, half expecting malware or a virus to eat the whole thing, but it opened to a single account. Foreign. The name attached? Clive Marston. The balance? $0. 00. But that's not what made my stomach twist. It was the transaction history. There were massive wire transfers in and out, some as recent as 2 days ago. Then everything stopped. Frozen. Just one line under the last transfer, written in bold red text. Flagged. Breach protocol // internal lockdown issued. I had no idea what that meant. Still don't, really. But I knew enough to understand this. Someone accessed this account who wasn't supposed to. And now the account had gone dark. And I was holding the very device that probably triggered it. I started Googling like a madman. Clive Marston. Clive Marston financial fraud. Clive Marston Myra Callahan. I didn't expect anything. People who do this kind of thing don't usually leave LinkedIn profiles lying around. But surprisingly, something did come up. An archived article from a corporate expose site. 3 years old, buried, barely indexed. The headline read, Luxury Lifestyle Guru or Financial Launderer. The Shadowy Rise of Clive Marston. The article was mostly fluff, allegations, rumors, nothing solid, but there were enough breadcrumbs to build a picture. Clive had worked with consultants across Europe, frequently operating through boutique firms, shell corporations, and ambiguous asset management branches. But one name made my chest seize. Vireo Consulting. That's where Myra worked. Or claimed to. She never gave me a clear description of what she actually did. I asked a dozen times over the years and always got the same answer. It's niche. You wouldn't get it. I used to laugh that off. Now I wasn't laughing. I pulled out old emails, statements, anything I could find to connect her to Clive directly. It didn't take long. A scanned PDF she'd once asked me to sign, months ago. She said it was just a joint consent form for her firm's internal communications. I didn't even read it. I trusted her. At the bottom of the form, in fine print barely visible, cosigner grants proxy access to private holdings per Financial Compliance Clause 9C under Vireo Marston Joint Protocol. My name was on it. I'd signed over rights. To something. To him. And suddenly, everything made sense. The party. The envelope. The phone. The warning. I wasn't just Myra's husband. I was the buffer. The legal loophole. The proxy name for transactions that couldn't be traced back to either of them. I was the insurance policy. And now, the policy had expired. A knock on the driver's window made me jump so hard I nearly dislocated my shoulder. I spun to see a woman standing there, maybe mid-50s, sharp features, windbreaker, hair in a tight bun. She held up a badge I couldn't read through the foggy glass. I cracked the window barely an inch. Can I help you? Ellis Callahan? She asked, her voice crisp. My mouth went dry. Who's asking? She smiled like it was a test. I work for someone who needs to speak with you. It's about your wife. Let me guess, I said. Clive sent you. That smile didn't move, but her eyes changed. Just a flicker. Just enough. She slipped a business card through the window slit. No company name. Just an address. 8th floor. Westgate Building. Noon. Today. Come alone, she said. And then she walked away without another word. I watched her disappear into the crowd, business card trembling in my hand. And for the first time in days, I felt something unfamiliar. Fear. The kind that doesn't just mean danger, it means you're already too late. I didn't even think about not going. That's the part that bothers me now. I didn't hesitate. I didn't weigh the risks. Some stranger flashes an unmarked badge, hands me an address, and I show up like I've been summoned. What does that say about me? That I'm desperate? Gullible? Or just so sick of not knowing that I'd rather walk into a trap than stay in the dark? The Westgate Building looked normal enough from the outside. Mid-rise glass and steel, valet out front, some guy vaping near the revolving door. I wore my least wrinkled button-up and didn't bring the phone with me. I left it locked in a drawer back at a pay-by-the-week motel on the other side of town. Paranoia had finally caught up to me. I wasn't about to walk into some clandestine meeting with a GPS tracker in my pocket. The elevator creaked and whined all the way up. 8th floor. The whole hallway smelled like lemon cleaner and printer toner. Suite 812 had no label, just a matte black door with a keypad entry that was already unlocked. I pushed it open and braced myself. No one was inside. The lights were already on. Neutral gray walls. A single long table. 4 chairs. And one file folder sitting dead center with a sticky note on it. My name. All caps. Ellis. The room had a silence that felt manufactured. I couldn't hear the hum of traffic. Couldn't hear other offices. Just the faint buzz of fluorescent lighting above and the scratch of my own breath. Every nerve in my body screamed, "Get out." But I stepped inside anyway. I picked up the folder and sat down. Inside were copies. Dozens of them. Pages and pages of financial transfers. Wire instructions. Authorization forms. Several with my name on them. Forged versions of my signature I couldn't even deny. The slant of the letters, the curl on the E, the looping L, they were all mine. Or looked like mine. There were internal memos too. Ones I wasn't supposed to see. One from someone listed only as C.M. Clive Marston, referencing something called Tier 3 handovers. Another memo said, "The proxy has no operational awareness. Proceed with extraction if behavioral shift is detected." The proxy. That was me. This wasn't just betrayal. This was architectural. This was long-term. Built from the ground up. She hadn't fallen out of love with me. She'd constructed me like scaffolding. Useful until the structure could stand on its own. Then disposable. I flipped through the rest, hands trembling. Near the bottom of the stack, a photo fell out. I picked it up and felt my throat tighten. It was from our 3rd anniversary. Myra and I, sitting on a picnic blanket at the lake. Me laughing. Her, smiling just off camera. I remembered that day. It had rained later, and we stayed under the bridge eating soggy crackers and talking about what we'd name our kids. On the back of the photo, someone had scrawled a note in pen. "You were always too kind to play this part." No signature. That's when the lights shut off. Not flickered. Not dimmed. They cut, completely, in one flick, like a power kill switch had been pulled. I froze. Didn't breathe. My skin lit up with goosebumps. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Not many. Just one pair. Slow. Deliberate. I grabbed the folder, slammed it shut, and made a split-second decision. I ducked under the table, crawled fast and low to the other side of the room where I'd noticed a supply closet door cracked open earlier. I slipped inside just as the main door creaked open. I couldn't see anything, but I could hear someone breathing. They moved to the table. Stopped. Silence. Then a sound, paper rustling. The folder being picked up. Another pause. Then, the sharp rip of the photograph being torn in half. That hurt more than it should have. They stood there for a long time before leaving. I counted 47 seconds from the moment the door shut until I dared move again. The lights never came back on. When I stepped out, the table was empty. No file. No note. I ran. Didn't take the elevator. I pounded down 8 flights of stairs so fast my legs nearly gave out. I didn't stop moving until I was 6 blocks away, my chest burning and my lungs barely keeping up. I thought maybe I'd escaped something. But when I finally got back to the motel, breathless and buzzing with panic, I opened the drawer to check on the phone. It was gone, but something else had been left in its place. A new envelope. Same black color. Same gold writing. But this time, instead of my name, it said, "Run." After that envelope, the one that just said "Run," I did something completely out of character. I didn't. I didn't run. I was done running. Done hiding in cheap motels and side streets and crouching behind bushes like some extra in a bad spy thriller. They wanted me afraid, confused, disposable. So I flipped the script. I went back to the only person who had almost told me the truth. Mallory, Myra's sister. She lived across town in a gated community with more dogs than neighbors. And when I showed up on her porch, she looked like she'd seen a ghost. "You shouldn't be here," she said before I even spoke. "Clive," I said, panting. "Tell me where he is." She glanced over her shoulder. "I don't know exactly where." "Mallory." I stepped closer. "Please. I'm done playing dumb. I've seen the account. I've seen the signatures. I've seen the building. I've seen the file. I just need to finish this. Tell me where he is." She stared at me for a long moment, jaw tight, then exhaled like she'd been holding it for a year. "I don't like him," she whispered. "I never did. He wasn't supposed to touch family." That was the one line. But Myra let him cross it. I didn't say anything. I just waited. She pulled out a phone, scrolled fast, then showed me an address on the screen. "Downtown. High-rise condo. Penthouse." "He's there," she said. "He works late. Sleeps later. If you're going to confront him, do it before 8 a.m. Security won't ask questions until shift change." I thanked her and turned to leave. But she grabbed my arm. "Ellis," she said. "He's not a killer. He's worse. He erases people." I went anyway. The next morning, at exactly 7:46 a.m., I walked into that building like I belonged there. Button-down shirt, clipboard, fake delivery lanyard I printed at a 24-hour FedEx. You'd be amazed what people ignore if you act tired and annoyed. Penthouse. Top floor. Door unlocked. Inside, it was too clean. Like no one lived there. Like someone curated a life they never had to inhabit. White walls. Minimalist furniture. And on the desk, of course, was a laptop open to an encrypted account, blinking red. He was standing on the balcony, sipping something gold from a glass, shirtless under a black robe like a villain from a movie that didn't get good reviews. "You're Ellis," he said without turning. "You're Clive," I answered. "I am." He took another sip. "Did you enjoy the maze?" I stepped farther inside. "You used me." "I did." He turned then. And that's when I realized something unexpected. He looked tired, older than the photos. Paler, thinner, less like the romantic danger I had imagined, and more like someone near the end of their game. "She never loved me," I said. "Did she?" He didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He just stared for a second and then shook his head. "No, but she didn't love me either. We were useful to each other. That's all it ever was." "You ruined my life." "I didn't ruin it. I just moved the pieces." I walked closer. "Well, now I'm a piece you don't control." He put down the glass and turned his back again, but his words were soft this time. Slower. "You were never the target. That's why I let you find me." I blinked. "What?" He looked over his shoulder. "She betrayed me too, Ellis. While you were playing husband, she was building her own escape hatch. I found out too late. By the time you opened that phone, she'd already moved the real money." My heart stopped. "She used both of us," he said, bitter. "You were the signature. I was the smokescreen. Classic misdirection." I stared at him, suddenly uncertain. "Where is she now?" "Gone," he said. "Offshore. New name. New passport. She won't call you. She won't call me." For a moment, we both just stood there. Two discarded pawns in a game neither of us had the rules to. "You can have the files," he said eventually, nodding to the laptop. "The evidence. The transactions. It's enough to clear your name. Maybe even press charges if you're lucky." I didn't trust him, but I trusted that she'd betrayed him too. So I took the laptop and left. And that was the last time I saw Clive Marston.